Bashing on, we move to the Balochistan conflict, a minor conflict. Since 2004, approximately 9,000 people have died. Balochistan is an area that overlaps 4 countries: Iran, Pakistan, India, and Afghanistan. The peoples of Balochistan almost had their independence in 1947 when India and Pakistan got their independence from Britain, but sadly they were denied. The Pakistan military insists that the Balochistan Liberation Army is funded by India and Afghanistan. The peoples of Balochistan region are largely nomadic people who got the shaft when the lines were drawn. Nomadic people living in a world of lines and borders just never seems to work. Moving on to India. This one's a bloody mess. India's got 3 separate conflicts happening right now. The first one, the insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir, more commonly known as the Kashmir conflict, a minor conflict. In the north of India, since 1989, over 60,000 people have died. Kashmir is a disputed territory administered by India, China, and Pakistan. Since 1947, when India and Pakistan got their independence from Britain, there have been territorial disputes as well as an insurgency, with the main fighting starting in 1989. Indian military clashes with Mujahideen fighters from Afghanistan, assisted by Pakistan. Some militants want an independent Kashmir, while others want Pakistan-administered Kashmir. U.S. intelligence says Al-Qaeda is involved. India claims terrorists from Afghanistan, Egypt, Yemen, Bangladesh, and apparently Pakistan, with the death of that Pakistani officer discovered, are operating terrorists in Kashmir, which the UN has confirmed. India's second conflict, the ethnic conflict in the Nagaland, a minor conflict. This is in the far northeast. The Nagaland state borders the country Burma/Myanmar, and we're getting to them. The major fighting started in 1993. Since then, about 25,000 people have been killed, but fighting in the area started in the early 50s, after independence from Britain, which is a common theme. There are 6 separate rebel groups operating in the Nagaland with over 16 separate tribes, all militarized. The third Indian internal conflict, the Naxalite Maoist insurgency. This minor conflict starts at the northeast and goes south across most of the lower country. This insurgency started in 1967. Since then, 6,000 people have died. The real fighting began in 2004 when there was a merger of the 2 faction groups, the People's War Group and the Maoist Communist Center of India. They are now referred to as the Communist Party of India. The Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh called the Naxalites the single biggest internal security challenge ever faced by our country. The communists, we will say, seem opposed from all sides. The Indian Army, the state-sponsored Salwa Jadum, the anti-Maoist group, and other sponsored private armies. If I take all the fatalities from all 3 of those conflicts, I get approximately 89,000 dead. And there are buses driving around here in Vancouver with tourist signs from India. I hope it's all inclusive. This brings us below India to Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan Civil War. Now, this was a major conflict, but the entire time I was doing this project, the conflict was winding down, ending with Sri Lankan troops defeating the Tamil Tigers and the UN calling for them to surrender. One figure says over 100,000 dead, another says 80,000 dead by the end of 2008. The Tamils were fighting for independence and had been fighting since 1983. They may still fight a guerrilla war. We shall see. Now we move east to Burma/Myanmar. They can't even agree on a name. To the internal conflict, it's almost a civil war, but not quite. So we're going to call it the not quite a Burma/Myanmar civil war. A minor conflict. 7,000 people have died so far in anti-government uprisings. The human rights abuses by the army against the various ethnic populations have been horrific. Exactly when did human life become worthless? This conflict is actually the oldest ongoing war in the world, with various ethnic people standing up to the brutal military regime who let 80,000 people die with no aid when they were hit by that cyclone in 2008. Next door is Thailand. They actually have 2 separate conflicts. The first is the South Thailand insurgency, a minor conflict. 3,500 people have died so far in the fighting between the Thai government forces and the Islamic insurgents has raged since 2004. The insurgency is happening in 3 provinces on the south tip of Thailand. The Islamic movement reported to have contact with other Islamic movements such as the Moro Islamic Liberation Front in the Philippines and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban in northwest Pakistan. The other conflict is with Thailand's neighbor Cambodia and the Thai-Cambodian standoff. This is a relatively new conflict as far as fatalities go, only 26 deaths since 2008. But it is a 100-year-old minor conflict over the ownership of an 11th century temple and its surrounding lands located in the northeast Thailand or North Cambodia, depending on ownership.